Sophia Chen had worked at the Sterling Club for 3 years, long enough to know which members tipped well and which ones treated staff like furniture. She'd learned to smile through condescension, to nod through impossible demands, to disappear into the background of other people's important lives. But tonight, something inside her had reached its limit. The man at table 7 was new. Garrett Holloway, the reservation said. Tech billionaire recently relocated from Silicon Valley. His silver hair and expensive suit screamed money and power. So did his behavior. This wine is room temperature, he'd snapped 15 minutes ago, not looking at her. Are you incompetent or just lazy? Sophia had replaced it without a word, though the wine had been perfectly chilled. The fish is overcooked, he declared 10 minutes later, despite having eaten half of it. Does anyone here know what they're doing? She'd offered to replace it. He'd waved her away dismissively. Now, he was berating her because his water glass was empty, not asking for a refill. Berating her. Do I need to hire you a seeing eye dog? Garrett's voice carried across the elegant dining room. Or are you intentionally ignoring my table? Other diners glanced over uncomfortably. Sophia felt heat rise in her cheeks, but not from embarrassment, from anger. 3 years of swallowed pride, of accepted disrespect, of pretending she didn't have feelings because the customer was always right. She picked up the wine bottle from his table, ostensibly to refill his glass. Instead, she set it down carefully and met his eyes directly. Shout at me again, she said quietly but clearly, and this ends. The dining room went silent. Garrett stared at her, shock replacing his imperious expression. Excuse me? You heard me? Sophia's voice was steady now, years of restraint breaking like a dam. I have brought you 3 different wines, replaced a perfectly cooked meal, and apologized for things that weren't mistakes. I have been polite, professional, and patient. What I haven't been is your verbal punching bag. Garrett's mouth opened, then closed. The power dynamic had shifted so suddenly he seemed unable to process it. I don't know what kind of day you've had, Sophia continued, her hands shaking slightly but her gaze unwavering. I don't know what makes you think it's acceptable to treat people this way, but I'm drawing a line. Speak to me with basic human respect, or I walk away and you can explain to management why. The silence stretched. Every eye in the restaurant was on them. Sophia waited for the explosion, for him to demand her firing, for her 3 years of employment to end in this moment of rebellion. Instead, Garrett did something completely unexpected. He stood up slowly, and for a terrifying second Sophia thought he might escalate. But then he extended his hand. You're absolutely right, he said, his voice stripped of its earlier arrogance. I apologize. Sincerely, my behavior has been inexcusable. Sophia stared at his outstretched hand, uncertain. Was this a trick? I mean it, Garrett said, and something in his eyes looked almost relieved. Please, sit down for a moment. I'm working. Clear it with your manager, please. Against her better judgment, Sophia sat. The other diners gradually returned to their meals, though she could feel their curiosity. Garrett ran a hand through his silver hair, suddenly looking older and more tired. I got news today that my company is being investigated for practices I had nothing to do with. My ex-wife is suing for more alimony. My daughter won't return my calls. And I walked into this restaurant ready to take all of that out on whoever was convenient. He looked directly at her. That's no excuse. That's just the explanation. You're the first person in years who's called me on my behavior. Do you know how rare that is when you have money? That sounds like a you problem, not a me problem, Sophia said, though her tone had softened slightly. Garrett laughed, a genuine sound. Fair point. What's your name? Sophia. Sophia M. Garrett, and I'm genuinely sorry. The wine was perfect. The fish was excellent. And you've been nothing but professional while I've been nothing but awful. Sophia studied him. The arrogance had evaporated, replaced by something that looked like genuine regret. Why should I believe this isn't just damage control? You shouldn't. But let me prove it. He pulled out a business card. My company funds educational programs. I saw on your name tag you're taking night classes. What are you studying? Sophia hesitated. Business administration. I want to open my own restaurant someday. Then I'd like to fund the rest of your education. Full scholarship. No strings attached. Consider it an apology for my behavior and an investment in someone with enough spine to stand up to a bully. Sophia pushed the card back. I don't want your guilt money. It's not guilt money. It's recognition money. You stood up when you had everything to lose. That takes courage most people don't have. Especially people in my world who just nod and agree with everything I say. Is that why you act that way? Because people let you? The question hung between them. Garrett was quiet for a long moment. Probably. Power corrupts, and nobody tells you when you're becoming insufferable. They just smile and take it because you control their paycheck or their funding or their future. He looked at her seriously. You reminded me that I'm not special. I'm just a person. And persons should treat other persons with respect. Sophia picked up the card. I'll think about it. Fair enough. She stood to leave. But Garrett spoke again. Can I ask you something? Why now? Why tonight? You said you've worked here 3 years. What made tonight different? Sophia considered the question. I don't know. Maybe I just got tired of pretending it was okay. Maybe I finally believed I was worth more than how you were treating me. Good. Garrett said softly. Never unlearn that. Over the next months, Sophia did accept the scholarship, but she also discovered that Garrett had changed. He became a regular at the Sterling Club, polite to all staff, generous with tips, asking servers about their lives and remembering their names. Other members noticed. The man known for his cutting remarks and impossible standards had softened. Some whispered about health scares or personal crises. Only Sophia knew the truth. He needed someone to draw a line and mean it. 2 years later, when Sophia graduated with her business degree, Garrett was in the audience. He'd also offered to invest in her restaurant concept, but she'd refused. She wanted to build it herself. I respect that, he'd said. But when you open, I want a reservation for opening night. 3 years after that confrontation, Sophia's restaurant opened. It was small, elegant, focused on making every guest feel valued. She trained her staff to treat everyone with dignity and expected the same in return. Garrett did come opening night. He ordered simply, complimented everything genuinely, and left a generous tip with a note. Thank you for teaching me that respect isn't a luxury. It's a requirement. Sophia kept that note framed in her office. A reminder that sometimes the most important thing you can do is refuse to accept unacceptable behavior, even when it costs you everything. The line she'd drawn that night had changed both their lives. His, by showing him he'd become someone he didn't want to be. Hers, by proving she was worth more than how others chose to treat her. If this story resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales of courage and transformation. Comment below about a time you had to draw a line and stand firm.